Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager, and this is episode number 8. We are still keeping up our pretty much one episode per day for a little while longer. It's going to slowly start to stretch out where we're going to get down to, 5 episodes a week, 4 episodes a week. We'll see how long, it endures at this pace because I do have other series to record as well. And this is definitely time consuming. I can see why some of the other YouTubers definitely are putting in a lot less time releasing a lot less content than I am at this point because it certainly is time consuming. Fun game though. I do highly recommend it if it is in your budget. With a back-to-back race weekend situation, we had no big things happening this week. We're going right into my personal favorite, though a lot of people love to hate on it because, boring race, not as much passing. You can have plenty of excitement with cars following closely. And if it's a little bit of a procession, I do, of course, understand the argument, though, on why some people find it boring. I love the spectacle that is Monaco. It is why I am a Formula One fan.
Cars have been racing through Monaco's streets since 1929, and this weekend is no exception, as we get to watch the new generation of world-class drivers take over Monte Carlo. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is famous for its many narrow twists and corners. From the brake-heavy Le Rascasse to the treacherous Saint Devote, there are no proper straights to speak of, and it's extremely hard to overtake here. It sounds like simple advice, but getting up as high on that starting grid as possible is the best plan of attack. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees.
Looks like we are in for a very wet Friday, but it should dry out for the rest of the weekend, or one would think. That doesn't necessarily mean it will. We could experience some rain on Saturday or Sunday as well, though Saturday looks to be just partly cloudy, so less likely on the rain there. Will make things interesting in this race. It certainly did. The one time earlier this season was at Melbourne, where we had some rain, especially during the race, and it made things definitely interesting, and it certainly worked out in our favor as our best finish that we have had so far, and we could use something like that to mix things up here, certainly as well. So getting around Monaco in the rain here has been interesting for one. Absolutely loving the graphics with the rain here, with the tunnel. I love how you even get that little blur in the tunnel. You do get that proper tunnel sound too, with the reverberations off the wall of the engines. It's so authentic. But anyway, we are in rarefied air right now that we are comfortably in third and fourth place in the timings here in free practice 1. That is because the practice session started dry, but was only that way for about 5 minutes. And so only about 6-7 cars got any sort of time in whatsoever. And we were amongst those. Bottas and Russell put in proper laps, are that 2+ seconds that we are used to being behind. Nobody else got in really a proper lap in that time, as like I said, only even 6 or 7 cars saw the track. So that gave us a real leg up on everybody else because it's been raining hard since. We went straight to full wets, which the intermediate period, by the time we even got in, it was already almost to full wets. And we've hovered down into the intermediate range a few times, but I don't want to risk it. It's practice. And so we've stayed on full wets here throughout. The other good thing for me is knowing this track through and through has nailed down a good driver setup early. I know what they need. You don't need much on the straights, and you know that you very much need the cornering here compared to everywhere else. And you can see how on the very first setup attempt here with Albon, we already got to 83%, which is better than what you get when the AI sims through those 3 practice sessions. So we're going to see a pretty healthy bonus here, and I think we should be able to nail things down quite well before the end. The only thing at this point is what direction to go because of how close we are to getting it down. So actually getting that last 17% can be quite tricky. So a couple of the noticeable things here in this first practice session. One, we are not gaining the track acclimatization at the same sort of rate we normally do. I think that is just simply going around the track slower. It takes 10 extra seconds to complete a lap. So for every lap that you are completing, you're losing running time every 5 minutes. You've lost a lap that you would have had otherwise. So by the time we get to the end of this session, we're going to be a good 10% lower than what we normally are on the acclimatization. So there's that factor. Also, this is a track that is absurdly unforgiving for those who are unfamiliar with Formula One. This is just about the hardest track on the planet, which is why I love it so much. Yes, there may not be a lot of overtaking, and to some they find that boring, but for me it is the technical nature of this track. I learned how to drive on this track. Not literally. I've never been I've never been in Europe. I lived in Oceania for a few years. I've been in Asia. I have been, North America across, but I've not been in Europe. So no, I have not been to Monaco. I did not drive the track. However, as a young teenager, I want to say it was F1 96. It was my first introduction to the sport. I had no idea Formula One even existed because growing up in the US, it was NASCAR, Indy. That's all we had. Other forms of racing were very severely over. Well, okay, we're in the wet and it's really, really come down. Okay, I gotcha. And it looks like it's going to stop raining, so we do need to switch to the intermediates here. And do the same for both, as those wets are drastically overheating, not generating enough cool down because there's not enough water that they're running through. Rain has stopped. Okay. We do need the intermediates for a little while, though. It is expected to be dry on the later days, so it's okay if we burn a set of tires. We want to get as much running as we can, so we will switch to the intermediates as we're still well beyond what you need for the dry compounds. Having never even heard of Formula One, picking up a PlayStation. Is that the original PlayStation? I think it was. Might have been PS2. I think it was the original PlayStation, F1 96. And quickly found that my favorite track was Monaco. And it was one of only maybe 2 tracks that I ever did 100% races on. And by 100%, we mean like one per day. I ran a 100% race almost per day for like a month. By the end of that, I had that concept of braking and cornering and accelerating down quite well. It's quite obvious that I've gone the wrong way on the setup, but I want to wait for the full feedback to make the next decision on what direction to go from here, as we only know a few of the elements, and I want to get all of the elements sorted out before progressing on to what the next option might be. Both of them are at 4 out of 5, so we'll have that fairly soon. And one additional reason why I'm such a huge fan of this race is that Formula One wasn't even shown in the US for most of my life. It is now very popular in the US, or the popularity is certainly growing very rapidly right now, especially since Drive to Survive, even if it's an awful documentary. It's not really a documentary at all, the way that they kind of fluff everything that's going on. But that growth of a fan base is obviously a good thing. It's not entirely good, but it's certainly a good thing. Grow your fan base is always better than not growing your fan base. Okay, so we went from 83 down to 77, which obviously is not good. But we did get a few things going in the right direction, and there was only one thing that clearly went the wrong direction. Anyway, coverage of Formula One pretty much did not exist. But there was the occasional year without much warning to it that, the Formula One Grand Prix of Monaco would pop in and be an option. So the one race that we got coverage of growing up was this, and it's because of the spectacle that it is. And so it would be the only one that we would ever get attraction to in the US, and therefore it was what I knew. So it's what I know of the sport. This is the one that for me is the heritage. It's the start point. It's the beginning of my fandom. The history of it, combined with the respect for the challenge it is to get around this track and keep the car in one piece, is why, regardless of how many overtakes there are, I still love this race.
Let's have a look here. This was the Aston Martin.
Free practice 2, and Vettel spins out and hits the wall. So this is good for us, as it's going to impact his race setup. He's not going to be, well, you assume it would impact, anyway, his race setup, that he wouldn't get a generic 70% even while crashing in practice. Last half hour of practice, Albon is very happy with his. We got him up to 97%. We are locking him in there, as we really can't draw on that last couple percentage points. For him, it's now just a matter of trying to get the acclimatization as high as possible. Just now reaching 80%. Like I said, with that rain in that first session, it has been a lot harder. We've been playing catch-up ever since. But in the meantime, Latifi still has a ways to go. We just finally got beyond good and into a great setup, a setup he's happy with in the mid-80s. Hopefully we'll nail down, another 8 to 10% on this next one and get him either the max or close to max bonus. But he's nowhere near the acclimatization bonus either, so Latifi might be missing a couple points for the race. Ultimately, the setups for the two are similar, but not identical. So that's the thing, is every driver is unique on what is the ideal setup. I've got them both at 97% with, not drastically, they did ultimately become very similar, but a little bit different setups to get to the exact same percentage point. Thanks to the procession that often ensues here at Monaco, I felt it was absurdly important to try our best to get in a lap that's going to put us ahead of the Aston Martins. Otherwise, beating them on track could be rather complicated at this track. So, as a result, I'm opting for three sets of tires, 3 attempts at Q1. It's not like we're getting out of Q1 anyway, so giving it our absolute most to see if we can't finish ahead of them. Now, we're already on lap number 2, and a lot of the field hasn't even put in lap number 1 just yet. Oh, terrible! Are you kidding me? Effing Alpine getting in the way. Double fold. Boy, that should come with a grid penalty, shouldn't it? He blocked literally both of our drivers. Latifi has to brake check to avoid hitting him, and then meanwhile, he side by side with Albon through one of the hardest turns and the most costly to come out of. It's not going to be a better time from either one, and it's not. No surprise at all that we did not improve our lap time there. Unfortunately, Vettel is ahead of both right now. I would presume that Stroll's going to probably come between, as we just saw the Alpine come back past us and go through the wall without crashing. Still 4:47 to go, but the track is a little more clear right now than it will be later. But the problem is you're going to get cars on their warm-up lap if you go now. I don't think it's going to go relatively well, but we're going to try to get Latifi out there a little early and see if if he can get a clean lap in and improve a little bit. Meanwhile, for Albon, we're going to go at the last second. As of right now, both Alpines could not get a clean run in. They are at the back of the field. Hamilton has yet to run a lap. He is about to finish, I think, his flying lap, though. So we're going to see him on the leaderboard here momentarily. And Hamilton goes to 5th place. So now everybody finally has a competitive time on the board, and we are 15th and 17th. So Tsunoda struggling. Stroll behind us, behind both cars, which is awesome. And then Ocon and Alonso both struggling. So we've seen 3 cars, and Sainz for that matter, 4 cars, really struggle to get a good lap in and lose time. We'll see what will happen, as everybody's going to be making one more trip around. And for Albon, want to get ahead of these guys, or do we want to get at the back end and risk not even making it on track? Now, good news for Latifi is nobody's gone out just yet, and he is about to start his flying lap. If Latifi can get back around before we see these guys heading out off of pit road, he might just be okay and not lose time. He might get that clean lap in. He might get that clean lap in. So far, so good. Turn 1 is the one area I worry about as he goes past the start-finish line, and he's good. He is good. Nobody is in his way. That's going to be a clean lap for Latifi. Albon, do we want to be at the front end of this thing and maybe catch the back end of everybody else? Everybody else is waiting till the last possible second, it looks like. Albon, let's get out there. Oh yeah, here comes everybody. Here comes everybody. Let's check back in with Latifi and the middle of his run. How is he looking so far? Yellow in Sector 1 despite the clean track. We are about 4th car out on track with Albon, which means we're not going to have to deal with traffic, I don't think. Should not have to. Latifi should be crossing Sector 2 here. In a moment, he is green in Sector 2. Past the swimming pool. Rascasse heading towards the finish. What time will it be? Everybody's out of his way. Come on, Latifi. Improve that time. He goes green. But does that improve his overall time? Does it improve his position? It looks like it does not change his position at all. 113.925. I do believe it improved his time by just a little bit, fractionally. Okay, Albon. We are at least ahead of Stroll. And I think Stroll, it was a lot closer. I think, that was close to a 1/10 of a second better. As Stroll gets ready to begin his lap, he has got an Alfa Romeo behind him. We're going to be slowing them up. Hopefully he is not able to pass us over the course of our lap. And here we go. The lap underway for Alexander Albon. Still currently in Sector 1, as I've got stuff falling down behind me in my room. Sorry about that. Might probably pick that up anyway. Yellow in Sector 1, not good. Not good. Yet again, he was slow in Sector 1. Slowest corner in Formula 1 is behind us. Can we accelerate from here and improve on this lap? Not looking like a great lap. That should be the end of Sector 2. How's that time looking? Green in Sector 2. Time is up. Session is done. Through Rascasse. How are we looking? Come on now. Looked on it the last part of the lap. Will it be a better time? 1:13.23. I do not think that was a better time. It is not. Vettel is ahead, will remain ahead. We're down to just Tsunoda and Stroll behind. Can we at least keep Stroll behind? And it would be really nice if Tsunoda could not put a good lap together. It is 0.6 of a second. Stroll moves up ahead of Latifi and Tsunoda, but Albon at least ahead of him. And Tsunoda up to 16th. Does not get out of Q1, but he does get ahead of us. That's going to be a Vettel, Albon, Stroll, Latifi back four.
Here we are, folks. We're back for another day of scintillating F1 action. It's race day.
Williams had a good performance in qualifying. Now they'll be eager to demonstrate that they can have an even better race. Haas proved quite resourceful during qualifying. That puts them in a very good position to make the most of this race start. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
And you can't get much more excitement than this on race day. It's the Monaco Grand Prix.
First lap is probably going to be the best chance we get to try to make an overtake happen, though it's going to be so difficult, especially the way the first couple of laps play out here in Monaco generally, but I haven't seen how it plays out in the game. But you get backed up and you're quite slow in the first lap, really unable to get alongside people. But we're going to see. We're going to try to be aggressive with Albon and see if we can't at least get past the Aston Martin, especially off the line. Latifi, we're going to go for the long one stopper with pitting late. So hopefully he can gain track position through others pitting, hold them up behind, see how things play out as we go along, even if we're just using him to hold others up until Albon catches up and then pit, even if it's off sequence, because it's Latifi. If we can at least use him to support the team somehow, it could make a world of difference for Albon's race. Meanwhile, Albon going aggressive, see if we can't make up a grid spot or two, in particular one grid spot, get ahead of Vettel and maybe leave him behind, and then hopefully find ourselves in a race with others later on, thanks to Latifi holding guys up.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. Here we have Alexander Albon. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. Next up for the team, it's Latifi. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. The race start is mere seconds away. It's time for one of the most exciting races in the world. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And the race underway. Movement off the line is so far unchanged. Actually, Albon going backwards at the moment. Stroll up beside him as the inside line faring a little bit better through turn one, but we do settle in at least ahead of the Aston Martin. And you can already see Latifi tight on him, and the way that Albon was able to block off Stroll gave us a bit of an advantage. But you can see as we shuffle into order here through the casino section, it's so tight, it's so slow that it bunches right back up. And that is a quiet opening lap, zero contact amongst cars, every single car making it through intact. And now we continue on with the race that is the most likely to see a safety car as you go through the season. So we'll see how many we get today and how that'll play in tactically. Otherwise, we're likely stuck here behind Vettel and stuck behind Stroll in the short term. Now, the good news for me is that both Vettel and Stroll are outside of DRS range of the car in front of them here on lap number 3. Latifi, though, has also slipped out of DRS range as we are on that hard compound. We'll have to see who else might be, but we do want to go on to deploy, push a little bit harder to get into that DRS range, as that's going to, give us a tremendous help as we go on. Well, it's not much of a help here. It's much less of a help here than it is at other tracks, but still want to have it. Didn't take much push from Latifi to get right up on Stroll, and Albon also right up on Vettel. race situation as for proposed or expected strategy. We are looking at a one-stop strategy no matter who you are. So we have 4, 6, 8 cars on the soft compound, the last of which is Albin. Albin, with the red wall tire, probably needs to try to get past Vettel. But the good news for us is we'll have a chance to undercut Vettel tactically here, as he's going to be going a little bit longer and we'll be on those fresh hards and get in front of him. So for us, I do expect to pit before Vettel, even if it's just a handful of laps, and that should be enough to get past him. We'll have to push after our pit stop to make that happen. We're falling well off the back of the field otherwise already, so it looks like our race is very much with these two at the back end of the grid. Stroll and Latifi on the same strategy on the hard compound. So for Latifi to beat Stroll, he's either going to have to undercut him by a lap, or he's going to have to beat him on pace, on merit, and not make a mistake. But knowing Latifi, he's bound to make a mistake and crash into a wall at some point, or go off the track and have to recover and lose a ton of time. Stroll's likely to make a mistake as well, just fewer total number. 7 drivers on the medium compound, and just 5 on the hard, going the one stop in the reverse, going long. Ocon, Norris, Schumacher, Stroll, and Latifi, who are probably going to be too far behind for that to work out in their favor at the rate we're going down the track. But we'll see how things shape up. It's lap 6:78. I find it highly unlikely, but here on lap 13, entering lap 14, I've decided to take one chance and see if we can't get beyond Vettel. We are very close to him as we enter the DRS zone along the start-finish line, and we do get alongside Vettel. We're going to have the inside here on turn number 1. Can we stay up beside him? Can we complete the move? No, we do not. Not yet, anyway. But we nearly had him. We so nearly had him on that one. We're going to continue pushing on a little bit more here. I know the undercut, the pit, is the other way to go. So we're really only going to give this 2 shots. We gave it one little chance right at the end of that lap. We're going to give it one more shot here on this lap and see if we cannot put Vettel under pressure and make the move to get on by and then control. And you never know, maybe we have the pace to drive away from him. Even if we don't, later on the pit stop will allow us to pull away. Again to the inside of Vettel. Again, side by side. Again, we enter turn 1. Go up the hill and tuck in. It's like you cannot, with our cars anyway, you cannot harvest for even a half a lap, more than half a lap, and you lose that 1 second gap versus normal deploy. Okay, so gaps are opening. Vettel and Albin are nearly 10 seconds behind the midfield now. Stroll and Latifi 6-7 seconds back of their 2 teammates. So things are, not going good on that front. And Stroll and Latifi are already closing in on getting lapped. It's only lap 16. And then that really blows your race kind of wide open positionally on what happens with all those blue flags, how often you're getting passed, and how you handle those blue flags. I don't yet know what the reason is, but the safety car is headed out, and we are on the, well, we're on the back stretch, not that far away from pit road. I want to bring in Albon at least. I think I want to bring in Albon now because the field's going to bunch up anyway. Put him on the hards. By the time we restart from the safety car, it'll only be a handful of laps early, and he might be good to go till the end of the race. Latifi's going to stay out for now and hope for track position. However, I don't think it's going to do much good. In fact, I think maybe
keep delta positive.
For Latifi,
up. Keep delta positive.
I think Latifi, we're going to have to do something to mix it up for him to have any hope in this race. So I think we're going to get him off the hard compound now and put him on a medium with another stop to come later in the race. Give him a little more pace. He's sitting in last place, and this bunching up isn't actually going to help him at all. He's far enough behind Albon, especially with the safety car and the delta, the time being slower, that you have to slow down because of it. I think he'll have enough time. He'll have plenty of time to come in. So bringing both drivers in now.
Okay, there's a big crash.
And it's Hamilton who
Let's
has
see
crashed
what there. Now, just watch
in
the
turn
Mercedes
one.
here.
He's got Bottas behind him, and he's going to
There's the crash.
outbrake himself and crash into the side there at turn number one.
And that was a bitter
And
blow
it
for
looks
the
like
team.
that is
And it may have
a out of
really
the
hurt
race
their
situation.
overall
Otherwise,
chances.
we would not be in safety car. We'd be virtual safety car if they need to pick up something, pick up debris only. Hamilton, yes, Hamilton is out of the race. So there is one position gained already. Albon heading down pit road. First and only one to pit so far. And he is done. Here comes Latifi. These mediums will not make it to the end of the race unless we pull a Daniel Ricciardo and drive like a giant boat down the streets of Monte Carlo, blocking anybody and everybody behind us. But the Williams just does not have that kind of pace to last for a billion laps on that. I think Leclerc did something similar, did he not? No, Leclerc hasn't finished too many Monaco Grand Prix, has he? Was this year the first one that he's finished? Or am I thinking of Azerbaijan for that? But anyway. Stroll does go through, so Albon comes out just behind Stroll. We need to go light, conserve,
Okay, back off.
harvest.
Copy.
Okay, Albon behind Stroll is going to be annoying because Vettel is going to drive away. But how much longer before they pit? It's going to be a little while.
Tires aren't really coming down. Okay.
So our race was just completely compromised. Both of the Aston Martins were allowed to overtake the safety car
Max saving,
and
fuel saving.
make their way back around. And meanwhile, Albon, who was not lapped, pits, comes out behind the safety car a lap down and is not allowed to overtake, finds himself in the middle of the grid with blue flags. So does Latifi. So we are now suddenly a lap down, and the safety car has not allowed us to unlap ourselves. And so now we are suddenly from 2 seconds behind Stroll to a full lap behind Stroll. Stroll, meanwhile, never did catch back up to the field, so he's well off the back. Vettel did eventually catch up to the field. But we had our race completely ruined by the circumstances of those pit stops and these blue flags that are now going to put us even further behind. Our only way back in now is another safety car, period. So we're now at the midway point of this race, and Ocon is your race leader at this moment. But we are on different strategies as Ocon, Norris, Schumacher, Stroll all have yet to pit. But because of that scenario, we are totally out of this race. I mean, we are a full minute behind Tsunoda, which is not a full lap because Tsunoda did pit. But because of all those blue flags, we went straight to the back end of the field. Even Stroll, by the time the field stretched out, Stroll was going full pace. He didn't have to stretch out. And so by the time he made up that ground and we went to the back of that train, eventually we had to make way even for Lance Stroll. So literally the entire field pushed on past. Then the pit stops started to come, and yes, we gained that 20-something seconds, and what we were initially aiming for occurred. But from a lap down, it didn't matter. So we are out of the race. We're totally out of the race again, unless another safety car happens between now and the end of this race, and we are actually allowed to unlap ourselves. But even then, we're going to have that Lance Stroll effect where we're going to have to go around and make up that ground. And so our chances of properly getting back into this race are so minimal. Stroll has yet to pit, and he's got a lot of cars tight behind him, so he will go back to the back of the grid once that has happened. Albon had a small train of cars with the Aston Martin, with Stroll closing in on him, so I pushed a bit for a few laps, and it has allowed Albon to drive away, so he is no longer in danger in the short term anyway of Lance Stroll causing another string of blue flags and backing him up, so Albon at least has some clean air to run in for a while. But Latifi's behind that, and he's not going anywhere. And then Vettel is holding up Tsunoda at the moment, so at least there's that, but that's nothing for us. Unfortunately, that actually means one more position for Vettel and less for us. So this race has gone horribly awry. Anyway, Ocon now overtaken by Perez. Perez is the race leader. Virtual second is Leclerc, and then Sainz, and then Verstappen, with Bottas in P5. Now, following a pit stop, Ocon may come out in P6, so he's in a strong position overall. This could work out in his favor going long. But then you have Norris, Alonso, Schumacher running well, but is he one of those? I think he was one of those that has not pit yet. No. Oh, yes. Schumacher and Norris, actually. Schumacher and Norris, for that matter, still need to pit along with Stroll. Now on lap 51, the same four cars still have yet to pit. Tire wear down to about 40%, and they're definitely into that window as there's 27 laps to go. And that's right about the right time to get to the end of the race, even on the soft compound. So that seems to be an inevitability that is coming soon. Vettel has actually caught Stroll, but has not gotten by him, so that means those guys are getting slowed down. Now Latifi just got lapped for a second time. Albon did eventually, from that train that was behind Stroll, Ricciardo and Zhou got by. And they eventually caught Albon, and they got past Albon, but Albon now has a sizable gap, a huge gap between him and Stroll and Vettel. But again, that safety car situation of our race is done unless that safety car bails us out. But here is my little glimmer of hope of something happening. 1, Stroll is slowing down Vettel. 2, Perez has just caught that group. So Perez is about to lap all of those guys, putting them on the same lap. Norris, Schumacher both pitting now. So Stroll could find himself losing a bunch of time, and Albon could find himself within 20 to 30 seconds and maybe beating Stroll by the end of this thing. It's just not much has gone right with the one thing that went wrong. With those 4 pit stops done, the new race situation on lap 54, Perez comfortably ahead of Leclerc, who's comfortably ahead of Sainz. Verstappen hot on his heels. Bottas not far behind, actually. Alonso and Ocon. So Ocon comes back out in 7th. Russell in 8th. Gasly, Magnussen, Norris down to 11th. And Schumacher 12th. Ricciardo and Zhou, those 4 are all going to be lapped fairly soon. Unfortunately, those 4 are all right in front of Albon. Albon would then be lapped for a second time. Latifi, who's already been lapped a second time, is completely out of... Albon's concern right now is that Perez is behind. Now, following all of this and literally losing an entire lap, here is the interval now on how things stand. Latifi is 20 seconds behind Albon. Albon, he's made up 30 seconds on Stroll. And then some, I think. Because we had to, we lost all that time with all those blue flags. But we went from a full lap to, actually it's 40 seconds is what we've gained. And, about 25 of that was the pit stop. But that means we've only gained 15 seconds. So with 20 laps to go, even if we continue to gain, I still think we're going to be 20 seconds behind Stroll. And the unfortunate part was with the early pit stop, we were pushing ourselves to the limit on what the hard compound is going to be able to do. And Stroll also switched to a faster compound post-pit. I don't know if he's on the soft or the mediums. Either way, doesn't matter. And Vettel's still holding off Tsunoda for P15 right now, which would improve his best position on the year. Fortunately, though, it would still keep him behind Albon, I think. Albon? We did have a P14, did we not? Vettel's best this year, I think, has been a P16, so this would move him up one spot. But and this would be Stroll's best, too, of a P17. But any chance we had of getting back into this race is going to go away the moment Perez laps us a second time. Safety car comes out here on lap 61.
Safety car. Keep delta positive. Keep delta positive.
Copy.
Safety car is going to come out in front of where we're at. Perez is right here about to lap a Haas. We'll see if the safety car comes out right away. But we definitely want to make that last pit stop here with Latifi. And it's really too late
There's a
for
big crash.
anything.
Copy.
All this is doing is pushing us up the order, which is not good, right? Because that's moving
I
Vettel
think
up.
that was a crash.
Ocon crashing in turn 4. So a select number of cars were allowed to overtake. A select number of cars were allowed to overtake the safety car,
Yep,
but
copy.
now it's all being bunched together. So we'll see if another group is allowed to overtake. But at this point, Latifi, who pit in, got caught behind the safety car, but was in front of the race leader, was allowed to overtake. But right now, everybody who was in front of Perez overtook. Everyone behind Perez is in place. So we are going to see what happens in regards to lapped cars being able to re-overtake the leader, as there are, well, there's 5 that are a lap down, but there's 2 that are 2 laps down. That extra lap that we lost puts us now once again from where we were back within half a lap of Stroll. Stroll never got lapped a second time. He was in between. So here we are right back into the same position we were before on a completely different lap compared to, well, everyone. Tsunoda has gotten up
Push
beside.
hard. Need to push hard. Okay.
Tsunoda got up beside Vettel, but
reduce left
Vettel
and close.
held him off, blocked him off totally. Almost pushed him into the wall there. And we have what looks like a crash. And we see an Aston Martin going backwards there. Which one is it, though? Which one is it? Vettel's still shown in P14, Stroll still shown in P16. So, was it Tsunoda who then was blocking off Stroll? Was it blue flags holding up and getting out of the way of the front 11 cars? I don't know what the case was on that one. We see, yeah, our Williams getting out of the way. We check in with Latifi, we can see what... It's Tsunoda. So Tsunoda practically stopped to let the lead lap cars go, walking Stroll with him, but also putting himself many seconds behind Sebastian Vettel, where he had been right on his tail for 25 laps, 30 laps, something like that. And now he's nowhere to be seen. Latifi finally straight to the back, because that's what happens with blue flags. You go backwards, even if you're faster. And now all that's between Albon and everybody else is that same situation. But then there's, what, a Haas? Is it an Alpha in front of Albon? Let's see. It's a Haas. So it's Schumacher. So that means those guys still have to go backwards. You still have Schumacher and Norris right in front of him. So there are still lead lap cars here that are going to knock those guys back. But here is Albon slowing down drastically to let Tsunoda by, and Tsunoda hasn't even got by yet. Finally, Albon to the very back. Back to 1 lap behind Stroll. We had caught up half a lap on him, and we're right back where we started, thanks to another safety car at both the wrong time and being dealt with in the wrong way. Today is just called unlucky. Very, very unlucky. And Vettel, of course, now finds himself the beneficiary of our bad luck, as we are literally the last 2 cars, plus 2 cars out, and he's beaten just 1 car to find himself matching our best of the season 14th. And now we're going to really have our hands full. Not only is today going to be a poor evaluation, but our entire season is now in jeopardy because, well, I don't know, we got 2 drivers on the same, so who's going to be classified higher? We scored first that 14th, so are we still the lead driver? I don't know. Do they become the lead driver because Albon and Vettel are tied and Stroll's ahead of Latifi? I don't remember what sort of tiebreaker you would have. I just know the driver with the higher best finishing position of the year is the tiebreaker when you have 0 points or when you are tied on points. Actually, I think it's your next best finish, is it not? And we've been finishing pretty consistently ahead of Vettel. So maybe it's still us. Maybe it's still Albon. Here's the battle for the lead. It looks like I actually can watch other drivers besides my own. So there you go. Perez leading over Leclerc here in the final half a lap at the Monaco Grand Prix. We have a Red Bull followed by a Ferrari, and then we have a Ferrari followed by a Red Bull. Love the extra cheering that we're getting here on the final lap, cheering on that they know that this race is about to end. Or maybe they're just cheering and we haven't heard it because we're always, back at the grid. They don't cheer for us. Could be. Order remains unchanged at the finish line. Let's check in with Albon and see just how close the battle is going on ahead of us. You can see how we are hot on the heels of Stroll, but we've just not been able to do anything because if we do get up beside him, we get blue flagged and go right backward. And Tsunoda is caught in between, so Vettel to me is the big winner of the day, and we are absolutely huge losers. Obviously on the luck side, but you know what? I couldn't have anticipated what was going to happen there, but to an extent you can. You can guess that you're going to get caught behind safety car, but of course the realistic thing is the lap cars were supposed to be able to unlap themselves, and that just didn't happen for us. So
from Williams today. Some excellent decisions and
unlucky,
some
but
strategies that
the more you know, the more you know for next time. So Albon is still placed ahead of Vettel despite now being equal with a 14th place finish each. That keeps us in 9th place at least for now. So the day was not good, but the season is not toasted. Following that race, Albon gets another development point, his second already so far of the season, and I continually want to work on his race pace, getting 80 plus in each of these. So literally our next 6 points are all going into pace for him. We're not going to worry about anything else in the short term. One thing is abundantly clear to me. Albon's a good driver. Yes, there are better drivers on the grid, but most of them are much older. Most of them are going to be super expensive if they are of a similar age and better. So Albon's a good choice to keep long-term at Williams and see him grow and develop. Latifi, obviously, we want to replace, but for Albon, I think I'm ready to make a move and extend now, even though it's still early in the season. Let's see what we can do to add a year or two to his contract. Now, these are terms that are worse than his current contract, so I'm kind of expecting that Albon's not going to be too thrilled with this one, but his patience is very high and he's open to negotiation. The morale's not at a great starting place, but we'll offer less than what he's getting now with a 2-year contract and see where that kind of takes us. Wow. Okay, I'm really surprised here. So we upped the money and added 1 more year to it. So we have 3 pluses here. Patience is getting low, and he has denied it yet again. So I don't know, do we have to get a plus on literally everything? I mean, does he have to literally win every argument for us to get him to accept? Seems a little strange, right? It is a negotiation, not a you tell me what you want and I literally have to give it to you in order for you to accept. It's kind of feeling like that at the moment. He's happy with 4 out of 6 terms and he's not upset about the other 2 terms. That feels like that should be enough. So we're a week away from Azerbaijan. Finances are back over 20 million, so we're back into a happy zone there. And we are just 2 days away from our underfloor, our huge underfloor upgrade design being complete. Now, I don't know if we're going to have enough in a week to put on to both cars. We might have enough for Albon, though. Hopefully. We'll need at least 1 reserve, right? But we're also going to have 2 more scouting targets complete. So it's our time to make a move on Latifi here in the next couple of days. Plus that design coming. So I'm really excited. Huge things on the way for next time. That is going to do it for this episode. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.